This is Marvel Rivals. Heard of it? Probably. It's kind of the hottest hero shooter on the market right now. And for good reason, too. This game is a fascinating mix-up of the genre. Between the dynamic and fun heroes and villains that everyone knows and loves, to the amazingly implemented team-up mechanic, this game has it all. I'm here to get you started on your journey to be a hero. So let's get started with the basics. That is what I'm here for, after all. And we've got a lot to cover here. So suit up, and welcome to Rivals Kindergarten. Alright, Season 3 of Marvel Rivals is here, and it's a season, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know, I like Jean. She's fun. She's a bit clunky at first. She takes a bit of getting used to, but she's fun. I like her. The Thing changes. Those are great. The team-ups are spectacular. Once again, though, they released two pretty alright team-ups. A bad one, and then a team-up that shouldn't have made it past quality assurance because it's kind of insanely broken. But yeah, so far season 3 is pretty alright. I don't really have anything to say beyond that, really. It's just a pretty good season so far. But enough about that. Let's talk about the agenda for today. Much like every other time I've done this, I'm going to be talking about the patch notes, the new team-ups and reworks to existing ones, and then this time, kind of like when Jeff got his rework, I'm going to be talking about things like very minor rework. And then I'm going to finish it off by talking about Jean Grey, or Phoenix, as she's called in this game. I'm going to call her Jean, but she is called Phoenix. I know that. So let's get down to business. First of all, I'm not the authority on all things Marvel Rivals, as I usually say. I'm just some goobus on the internet who wants to help new players ease into this game. So with that, don't take my word as fact, just as a jumping off point to improve yourself. I've also said time and time again, what works for me may not work for you. Everyone has their own playstyle after all, it's up to you and only you to find it. I cannot find your playstyle for you. Next, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section. If you aren't being a dickhead about it, I would be glad to have a genuine conversation with you. Lastly, as usual, all of my information I'm saying is accurate as to the point of Season 3's release. Or at Season 3's release, rather. This might not hold up if you're watching this in the future. As a matter of fact, it definitely probably won't. Alright, now let's read some fucking patch notes, motherfuckers. Alright, Season 3 patch notes. We're going to start off with Vanguards. Emma is getting a slight buff, but like mostly a nerf. Her telepathic pulse damage at 99 charge is reduced from 120 per second to 110 per second. And at max charge, it's reduced from 150 per second to 140 per second. Reduced diamond form damage reduction from 30% to 25%, so she takes more damage in diamond form, and reduce the energy cost of psionic seduction, which is her ult, from 3700 to 3400. So a slight buff, but like mostly a net nerf. The Thing, I'm going to talk about him later, so I'm not going to touch on that for right now. Venom, excuse me. Cellular corrosion, enemy slow effect, was increased from 15% to 25%. Under the DPS category, the duelists, Human Torch got a damage reduction, just all across the board. He lost his team up anchor bonus. And his ult does, Supernova does 75 damage upon activation instead of 80. And Fire Tornadoes do 120 or 110 per second as opposed to 120 per second. And the reduction on his Fire Cluster damage per projectile was reduced from 6 per projectile, because remember it's like a cluster, it's like a shotgun, and it is now 5.5. So it's like a very minor reduction, but it probably will add up, considering I don't really think Human Torch is that good anyway. Iron Man. Reduce the first 2 repulsor blast hits from 40 to 35 and from 50 to 45 while in armor overdrive. So when not in overdrive, they do 35 damage normally, and when in overdrive, they do 45 instead. Okay. So just 5 damage nerf across the board, basically. Increase energy cost of Invincible Pulse Cannon from 2800 to 3400. It was still 2800. I thought they raised that forever ago, but I guess they didn't. Mr. Fantastic. Reduce inflated state bonus health from 400 to 350. Alright. Namor, got a buff. Increase Trident of Neptune projectile damage from 70 to 75 and projectile speed from 120 meters per second to 150 meters per second. And increase Wrath of the Seven Seas projectile speed, which is his alt fire, to the same as well. It goes 150 meters per second instead of 120. Okay. Wanda got a buff. Reduce max slow rate during reality erasure charge period from 35% to 25%, and increase damage from 750 to 850. So she moves faster on cast, meaning she'll be harder to hit, theoretically speaking, and she does more damage. I still don't think that's enough to save this ult. I think there's a few other minor changes, because it's still kind of horrible, but that's besides the point. Spider-Man got buffs. Okay. Increase Get Over Here kick damage when pulled to enemies from 50 to 55. Increase Spider Power midair damage from 50 to 55. And increase Amazing Combo damage from 55 to 60. Those are choices. The Punisher. Reduce Culling Turret projectile damage from 12 to 10 and decrease the spell field damage from 12 to 10. So he does 20 damage instead of 24. Increase the energy cost of Final Judgment from 3400 to 3700. Okay, so his ult got a nerf. Bucky. Adjust rotor stern fall off damage maximum at 40 meters from 60% to 70%. Okay, so he has a better range then. Wolverine, increase Feral Leap strike duration from 4 seconds to 5 seconds. And increase its cooldown from 12 seconds to 15 seconds. So, basically a rework. They just changed how his ability worked a little. Okay. Strategists. Increase orb projection healing on launch from 40 to 45 and damage from 20 to 25. Reduce healing on return from 40 to 35 and damage from 20 to 15. Okay, so they do less damage on the way back, but more on the way out. That... Okay. Gotta be honest with you, that is such a nothing change. They just moved the 5 to the way out instead of the way back. Whatever. So she got basically nothing. Loki, God of Mischief, was increased from 4,000 to 4,300, so he got a nerf. Mantis, okay. Basically a nerf. The way I'm seeing this is a nerf. I've seen this before, I already knew about this. This is basically a nerf. Healing Flower, new effect, heals allies by 2.5% per second. Reduce base healing from 20 per second to 12.5 per second. It affects tanks better because the percentage is higher, but overall it's kind of nothing, a nothing change. And then she got a nerf to her ult, increased the energy cost of Soul Resurgence from 3,700 to 4,300, and increased bonus max health from 100 to 150. Yeah, I don't know why they did that, because Mantis' ult isn't really that great compared to other like healing circle ults. in the game. Ultron got 2 nerfs. Reduced dynamic flight acceleration effect from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. And reduce imperative firewall bonus health to self from 75 to 65 and to allies from 55 to 50. Okay. They removed the ESU alumni team up and the Storming Ignition team up. And that's all the stuff that they did. So let's move on to team ups. I'll talk about the old ones getting some reworks. I'll talk about the new ones getting added. Alright, so the changes to team ups are as such. Guardian Revival between Adam Warlock, Star-Lord, and Mantis. It got a nerf. It increases Leader's Soul and Nature's Soul ability cooldown from 120 seconds to 135 seconds. So it takes longer in between deaths to revive yourself. Which I think it's a needed nerf. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's a bit cringe. Symbiote shenanigans between Venom and Jeff the Landshark. We're slightly increasing the power on Jeff's end of this team-up ability. Maximum Mayhem, now with extra bite. Increase Guardian of the Deep, maximum bonus health from 50 to 100, and max Tendril Link period from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. So, basically, Jeff becomes a bit more survivable, which is always lovely, and his slow with the tendrils is a bit more effective. Alright, fine, that's cool. Alright, let's move on to the new stuff for the team-ups then. Alright, up first is the Primal Flame team-up between Wolverine and Jean Grey. A few of the team-ups this season are overhaul team-ups, meaning they replace an ability, they do not add one. This one replaces his Primal Leap ability with Phoenix Warrior, which does basically the same thing, except has a damage over time and a 3 meter spherical radius around him, and gives him a 1% lifesteal. So that's cool. It makes him more effective at burning it down and breaking tanks because the damage over time scales on percentage, just like his regular base damage. So it makes Wolverine even more of a lethal tank buster. Gotta love it. Next is the Stark Protocol team-up with Squirrel Girl, Ultron, and Iron Man. Squirrel Girl gets the Squirrel Missile ability, which is a homing missile that hunts down enemies and has a squirrel on it, and it does 75 damage in an 8 meter radius spherical area of effect. It automatically tracks enemies within a horizontal angle of 60 degrees, a vertical angle of 60 degrees, and a maximum distance of 60 meters. It goes after the first enemy in that area, and it has a cooldown of 20 seconds. It's not a terrible team-up, it's just kind of meh, at least compared to her previous team-up with Spider-Man, which was probably one of the better team-ups. This one isn't horrible, but I don't see this being a focal point of any meta at all. Next is the Symbiote Shenanigans team-up, and it's between Hela, Jeff the Landshark, and Venom. Hela, as the new Queen in Black, gets access to the ability Hell's Tendrils, which is an overhaul ability of Soul Drainer. It has a larger area of effect and pulls enemies towards the Soul Drainer. It also slows them so they can't escape and lasts longer. The stun duration is still 0.3 seconds, but the slow duration for the link is 2 seconds long. Slows the enemies by 20% at the center, increasing to 40% the further you are from the center of the the Tendril. And it has the same cooldown of 10 seconds, I believe. Yeah, cooldown stays the same, much like a lot of other overhaul abilities. Pretty alright, yeah, not bad. Yeah. Nothing much to say here. Good team up. The last team up that I'm going to be talking about today is the Ever-Burning Bond team up between Human Torch and Spider-Man. Spider-Man gets access to another ability called Inferno Blast. It does 30 damage in an 8-meter area and leaves a burn tracer, which does damage over time for 4 seconds, 15 damage per second. It also makes Spider-Man backflip like 10 meters back a little, and it has a 12-second cooldown. While the burn tracer is applied, it functions like a regular spider tracer, meaning all of your damage is increased to traced targets. It's pretty good. It has multiple purposes. You can use it as a substitute for a tracer if you're out of webs. The one-shot combo potential is back. I think overall I'd say it's a fairly decent team up. Is it mind-blowingly amazing? No, I don't. I certainly don't think so. But it reopens Spider-Man's one-shot potential, which, as we all know, he desperately needs. He's a D-tier character. Yeah, so pretty good team up. Alright, let's start with the thing. Some of these clips won't be up to date. They'll be a little out of date, because I was only able to get one game in on the thing, because everyone and their mother wants to play him for some reason. Not for some reason, I understand why, he's a blast. But, anyway. The thing only got a slight rework, but I'm still going to touch on all of his abilities, just for the sake of being thorough. He still has his base HP of 700, and his primary fire is called Rocky Jab. He swings his fist for 2 jabs in quick succession, each doing 40 damage a hit. His alt fire is called Stone Haymaker, and it's a huge punch that has a brief charge-up time. It does 90 damage in a massive 8-meter cone in front of him. As he punches, he moves forward 3 meters and gains 50 bonus health. Additionally, it now knocks flying heroes out of the air if you hit them. It has no cooldown. His primary movement ability is called Yancey Street Charge. He stampedes forward, becoming CC immune and gaining a 100% movement speed boost for the 5-second duration. Additionally, upon activation, he gains 200 bonus health. Any person he runs into takes 30 damage, and at the end of the run, he slams down, making a large crater that deals 20 damage, and then 10 damage per second for 2 seconds, and grants the Earthbound condition, which disables movement abilities. It has a cooldown of 10 seconds. His main source of damage reduction is now split up between Embattled Leap and Battle Blitz, which both have a range of 20 meters, and basically, he just fucking jumps at an ally within range and grants both himself and the target ally 25% damage reduction for 3 seconds. He has 2 charges, each charge has a 3-second cooldown before using it again, but the full cooldown is 10 seconds. It shares a cooldown with Battle Blitz, which is basically the exact same ability, except you launch yourself at an enemy and only give yourself damage reduction, still by 25%. Which is how he's able to counter flyers now, because he's able to launch himself into the air and then haymaker them and they fall. Next up is his passive ability, Unyielding Will. It makes him completely immune to launch up, knockback, or displacement CC. Anything that would move him without his permission, basically. With a little asterisk there, because there are a few abilities that affect him. Emma's Choke Slam for one, but her kick doesn't. She can grab him, because he's still immune to, like, command grabs, I guess. Her ultimate, because I think it's a unique form of CC that's strange. And Jeff's ultimate as well, because it's in that same boat. Because they technically both displace the thing, but he's able to be CC'd by them. As for his ultimate, Clobber in Time is a massive stun in a 3 meter high, 10 meter wide, and 8 meter long area of effect. It advances 2 meters down the line every 0.1 second until it reaches the max of 18 meters. It is stopped by barriers and walls and shields, but not by the cart if you're playing Escort or Hybrid. Anyone hit by it becomes stunned for 2.5 seconds and takes 100 damage. It costs 2,800 energy. So due to his changes, I think I'm still firmly in the belief that he is heavily a brawl tank. But now he also works really well into dive compositions because he's able to effectively dive at an enemy and remove them from play a lot simpler. But I still think I would keep him put in the brawl category. Yeah, now let's move on to the star of the show for today, Jean Grey. So Jean is a very interesting hero, because the others, with a few exceptions, I can very confidently say I'm going to put them into one role, right? Or one composition, right? Like I can very confidently say, for instance, the Thing belongs in Brawl, Hawkeye belongs in Poke, and Spider-Man belongs in Dive, to give a few examples. The only other character that I was like, oh man, I don't really know where he sits is Iron Man. And Jean is a lot like that, because she has the high mobility and burst damage of a Dive hero, but she also has high HP and, you know, brawly abilities like a Brawl hero, and then she also has a decent range and sustained damage. So I think I'm going to say she's a Poke hero. I think that's where I'm going to put her. Of course, I'm not confident in that, because I feel like she would fit in every category, but I'm going to say that she's a Poke hero just for this. I also don't know what's up with this, but her hit registration feels off. I know I don't exactly have, you know, stellar aim, but I had to find the word there because my brain died. I don't exactly have, you know, peak aim. I'm not a top 500, like, Radiant Valorant player, right? I'm not clicking heads all the time at the drop of a dime, but I'm not, like, bad at aiming either. And I don't know, her hit registration feels off. Her primary fire feels like it should be a projectile weapon, but it is hit scan. So it just has this strange feeling, and the projectile size is very small, so it ends up feeling clunky. I don't know. There's some small quality of life changes. Overall, though, I think she is perfectly fine. I don't think she's disgustingly strong or weak. I think she is pretty balanced. She's very good at everything, but not really great at anything. So there's that. As for some of her base stuff, I think I'm ready to move on to her base stats. She has 275 HP, and her primary fire is called Cosmic Flames, which, as I said, is a hit scan primary fire, which means that, so just in case there are those who don't know what hit scan means and projectile means that they have travel time. The bullets have travel time, so you have to predict and you have to guess where they're going and, like, pre-fire specific areas and stuff like that. Hit scan means that where your crosshair is, and when you click the fire button, the bullet hits that part. Each shot does 50 damage and applies a spark, which are those little that little UI thing you see above their head. When an enemy has 3 sparks, they detonate, which does 40 damage. and enemies not caught in the explosion, like enemies that are not the sparked target, like enemies surrounding them in a 4-meter spherical radius, take 12 damage. Critical hits apply 2 sparks, and detonating sparks gives Jean healing over time, 10 HP per second for 4 seconds. It's not anything crazy, but if you're detonating a lot of sparks, that's a lot of healing because it stacks. She has an ammo capacity of 12. So there's that. Her secondary fire is called Telekinesis Burst, which is another AoE ability. It detonates in a cylindrical 2-meter radius area with a height of 4 meters, which does 20 explosion damage. If it hits a target, it then sends 2 more identical cylindrical spell fields directly behind it in a line. One detonates first, and then after that one detonates, it sends another. The first blast stuns enemies, while the subsequent 2 explosions inflict a slow. The stun lasts for 0.3 seconds, and the slow lasts for 2 seconds, and it is a 30% slow. It has a cooldown of 10 seconds. It also applies 1 spark to enemies hit with any of the spells. Like, with it, not the spells, with any of, like, the explosions. Any of the 3. Her primary movement ability is called Dark Ascent, where she enters a state of free flight within the duration, and she gains a 50% movement speed boost and replenishes 4 ammo per second. It runs on an energy meter, much like Star-Lord's flight. It functions very similarly to Star-Lord's flight, and it costs 400 energy per second with a maximum of 1200 energy, and you recover 120 energy per second. Then there is her other movement ability, Telepathic Illusion. You dash 8 meters and leave behind a telepathic illusion. Whoa, funny how that works. Which will then detonate in a 3-meter spherical radius, dealing 50 damage and applying a spark to an enemy hit with the detonation. It has a 12-second cooldown. Finally, there is her ultimate ability, Endsong Inferno. Soar into the sky with the Phoenix and crash down onto a selected area, dealing devastating damage to enemies while creating a shockwave that destroys enemy summons, shields, and any bonus health enemies hit are applied with 1 spark. The explosion damage does 140 damage in a 10-meter spherical radius. The shockwave deals 50 damage, and while you lift into the air, you have a 400 HP shield. After the ultimate is over, you will return to the spot you went when you cast it and be healed 250 HP. It costs 3,100 energy. Yeah, that is her ultimate. It looked way more devastating in her reveal trailer than it actually ended up being. But it is not a weak ultimate ability by any means. It's actually a very good zoning ult, and it's very strong as well. Because if you pair it with her spark mechanic, you can just kind of annihilate the enemy teams. You don't want to target tanks with this because of its minimal damage output. You want to target the backline and the squishies, which is why I think she may be a bit dive heavy, but she's not a dive hero. She is a poke hero. That is my consensus on that. Any advice I have for her? Really, play her however you want, because she is one of those heroes who can work well in any composition, brawl, dive, poke. So play her however you feel like she is best suited to be played. Do your own testing, your own experimentation. She is a very aim-reliant hero. So you're gonna need to be able to click heads pretty well. Especially with how funky her hit registration seems to be, you're gonna need to be even more on top of it than you would be normally. Oh, something I forgot to mention during her alternate fire is it does cling to surfaces, so you can stick it on a wall, or on the floor, or on a ceiling. It'll stick along that and the path will run along that surface. But yeah, I think that's that for Jean. I think Phoenix is, I think she's, yep, that's it for that, yep. Alright, and that's that. That's the way the cookie crumbles, that's the way the pickles bloom. I don't know what I'm even saying anymore. If you guys enjoyed today's lesson, feel free to let me know. Also, like I said at the beginning of the video, feel free to leave any questions in the comment section. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Please try to keep it civil down there too. I know the internet is an awful hellscape. Please don't add to it. We need more people to be genuinely valuable human beings and not just dickheads and toxic all the time. Also, as I've been saying rigorously, I am not the definitive expert on this game. I'm not the Marvel Rivals guy. So if there's anything here you don't agree with, feel free to let me know. Civilly again, please. I'm going to ignore you if you're being a dickhead about it. Lastly, as is normal, like if you liked, dislike if you didn't. I don't really care one way or another. And if you found this video informative and want to see more content like this, subscribe too. Again, up to you. I will still be here making videos no matter what, even if nobody ever watches them. So do whatever the fuck you want, dude. I'm not your dad. Probably.